Hello. We're here today to talk about the FLIR Raven site planning tool. And you can see down in the middle here that we can use this tool in a number of environments. But for today's video, we're going to talk about the security environment. So I'm going to come down here and click on the Continue with SSO button. This should bring me to my login page. Now, once I sign in, this should drop me right to my dashboard page that we're going to take a look at here just for a second. You can see I've been playing around and doing some projects over here with a specific site. Over here, we do have some support tools that you can click on if you're new to the Raven tool. But I think once you use it once and go through it, it comes pretty intuitively, I think, and people like it and get a lot of value out of it. So you can look down here. I am Marty. I am the owner. All of this stuff is in here. You would be able to put this in here as well, including your company logo, right? When you're printing out some reports, for instance, on new projects you've created, you might want to put your own little label on there or logo on that to indicate that it's coming from you if you're sending it to a customer. Now you can see it also keeps track of all the projects that I have already set up. And we're just going to go in and kind of do the same thing that I was doing when I was playing around with these so you can see how easy it is to use. So I'm going to come up here and you can see where we are on my dashboard right now. If I needed to change some of the things in my profile, I, of course, could edit it, or I could do the same thing coming up right here in my profile. So there's two different ways to do it. Here's where you upload the picture I talked about and all of the other information that you can see here. So let's cancel it back out of that. Now I'm going to come over here and just start a new project. We're going to keep it nice and simple. Now, because of our integration with Google Maps and Google Earth, all we need to do is either enter a location, whatever it is, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You can see, all right, the address of the White House. Or if you didn't have the address, you could actually just use some longitude and latitude numbers that you could see I was already on with my previous project. So it's going to store them right in here for me. And when I do that and I click on search, it is going to take me to that Meade substation that I had been working on. You can see I can grab it and I can drag it around. I can zoom it in, I can zoom it back out. We'll keep it right about here for now so we can show how we're going to set up a perimeter solution for this particular substation using some of the available tools that we've got at our disposal. So you can see over here on the left-hand side, I can add a camera. That'll be the first thing that we do. And then once cameras are added, you can actually manage those individual cameras. You can clone the cameras. You can do a number of different things that you'll see as we go forward. So this right here, this add camera is the same as this button right here. Once we're done, of course, we do want to save it. And then there's a number of different things that we can do, including create a report, which I'll show you how easy that is to do. So I'm going to go ahead and come over here and add a camera. And you can see the sections on the top left right there. You had to select the camera type first. So let's go ahead and do that. You can see we do have radar. I'll add a radar to it at the end right here. But for now, we're just going to start with the security camera. Now, which series are we going to look at? Well, you can see all of the series that are in here we could choose. Let's come down here and choose that new FH Series ID camera. Now, once I do choose the camera model itself, I do want to come down here and talk about the type of camera, right? This is for a perimeter, so maybe I want to choose this one right here. Now, as soon as I click on Add to the Map, you'll see it pop up right there, along with a couple of other things, including this information here on the left-hand side. But here's the camera itself. I could right-click that, and you could see that information that it shows right there is the same thing as what it shows over here. And if we come down here at the bottom, these are the important things that we need to talk about. Let's get rid of that. Now, the camera right here has, none of the numbers are set up right here, but you can see how it changes what it looks like here on the map once we do make some of these changes. Now, mounting height, of course, the higher the mounting height, the more of a dead zone that you're going to get, right? It's just physics. I think we understand that. This allows us to rotate the camera left, right, depending on which way we want it to shoot. But the range is probably one of the most important things, right? We're creating a perimeter solution. We need to understand what we're able to see at various ranges using the cameras that we have in our list that we have already seen. So if you look over here, I'm going to jump this up to, let's say the range we want is, well, there's already in there at 150. Let's just choose that as an example then. Now, when you see 150, it shows you that it's going to shoot about this far down. And this right here is that darker portion, is that mounting height dead zone that we talked about. If I increase the mounting height by just grabbing this, you can see the dead zone will increase. And as I decrease it, it, of course, decreases back to the original. So I'm going to set this at about 4. Now, I could rotate my camera as we talked about right here. So as I'm plotting them around on the map, I can put them in any position that I want them. So let's go a little bit higher right now. At 150 meters, you can see two different boxes right down here. The Johnson criteria, which is universally accepted criteria for what you are going to be able to identify at certain distances. However, our analytics actually perform a little bit better than that. And you're going to see that is the case here because as I start to increase the camera range, if I go crazy, put it up to like 1,000 meters or something, all of these are going to go red because they're not able to ID persons or vehicles or even detect, right? Detect is different than ID. ID, you got to be up closer or have better range. So what we're going to do is we're going to start cranking this up just a little bit. So let's go from 150 to 200. All right, you can see we're still good. We're still within our range right here. We're still green. Let's go to 300. Oh, okay. Now this is the first change, right? The Johnson criteria indicates that you can ID a person at this distance, but as you can see, we can actually do it a little bit further. So now if I were to start increasing this, as I already pointed out, well, there you go. It's even better. We're still going at 350, whereas, of course, the Johnson criteria that's required at least ends there. So as I mentioned, the farther I shoot these out, of course, least I'm going to be able to see as it gets too far. Now, one of the really cool things before we start adding these around the perimeter is if I come all the way down at the bottom. Now, these are our distances, right? 350 we had it set at. Now, it shows our dead zone, right? Because of the mounting height, not a very big dead zone on this particular camera. But down here, this is going to show us what we expect to see at the distance that we've got listed up at the top. So let's go ahead and do it. The view monitor simulation is pretty cool. Now, you can see a little tiny character there. He's 300 meters away, and that's why it looks so small. But all of the information is in here that we can see. It tells you how many pixels you're getting in a specific area. And in the vertical field as well. Now watch what happens, however, if I change the distance, right? So if we change this down, as soon as I drop this down to 100, you're going to see it's much closer. But the reason he was even closer than that, if I chop off one of those zeros and go to 10, we can see that's how close it is. So you can imagine you can get different distances. At 0, you're right up on them. I'll set it at 200. You can see I can still see him there. Set at 300, 3,000. Well, there you go. Now, this is not even on the screen. He's off the end of the range, and everything is red almost on the left-hand side. So let's knock that back down to 350 is what we had. So this is a really cool tool to sort of get an understanding of what you're going to see based on the numbers that you choose in your setup. So let's get rid of that for now. And this looks okay. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up a little bit, and we're going to plant these cameras all the way around the perimeter. And then we're going to talk about how, now these are perimeter cameras, right? These are for detection. We're trying to detect something that's approaching our zone. And then we might want to use a complementary camera to get better coverage for the humans in the command center, right? PTZs, that's what I'm talking about. So once something's detected by our fixed thermal cameras, or actually fixed multispectral cameras in the FHID's case, we then are complementing them in our report here that you're going to see at the end. We're going to complement them in our project with other cameras. And then once we're done, we're going to be able to print out a report and show all of the things that are on there. We could even get a quote based right from this tool itself. So hold on for 1 second as I place all the perimeter cameras. All right, now we've got the zone semi-covered, and again, you'll forgive my setup. I would never do it like this, and I know you guys are professionals who are listening to this video now, so forgive me, please. This is demonstration purposes only. All right, so as we go back up to the top, now as we talked about, I can actually choose different things to kind of complement that, whether that's radar. Let's just go and throw radar in there just so we can see how that looks. And again, radar is for long range, right? Stuff outside of my perimeters, maybe. So let's go ahead and add, what happened here? Ranger series, I thought I chose it. There we go. And then let's just go with the R1 for now. We'll add it to the map. Now this one's a little bit different, right? Because it's radar. So these are the three things that we can actually control with the radar. Let's see if we can detect crawlers. All right. It's not bad. I could detect crawlers almost. But again, radar is generally not for perimeter protection necessarily. It's for far off your perimeter protection, or at least to alert you, that something may be coming. So let's take off the crawler. Put on the walker. It's going to be a little bit better. How about vehicle detection? All right. Well, walker and vehicle, you can see, are both up to 700 meters. So We'll put them both in there. It doesn't really matter at this point because they are the same distance. So we could leave the radar on there like that. But what I wanted to show also was the complementary cameras that we talked about, the PTZs, right? So the security cameras there. We'll select our series, the PT Series HD cameras, and which type. Well, let's go ahead and keep it similar, and we will add it to the map. Now you can see there is my camera. That is what the PT Series HD camera looks like. And again, no analytics on this camera. That's why you only see the Johnson criteria and not ours, because we do not have analytics on this camera. However, this one's a little bit different, right? A PTZ is a 360 camera, right? It can move it around. So if I set my range, it actually is in a circular fashion. So again, we want to make sure that we're able to see something, right? We already at this point at 363 meters cannot identify a person. However, we can detect a person. So if we wanted to crank this down just enough until we lost our red, let's see, well, still in red, 250. All right, 250, we can actually detect a human. Excuse me, we can actually ID a human and not just detect. So let's move this up here and imagine that we just need PTZ coverage for our entire area. So if I come down here, I'll clone that one. We'll move this one over here. Again, we're a little bit off, of course, but again, this is just demonstration purposes. And I wanted to be able to showcase how easy this is. Now, if this were a real project and I was fine with it at this point, what we can do now is we can collapse all of these things now. We can come over here to save now. So let's go ahead and save it. And we'll call this project Mead Video. And we'll save it. Now, once the project is saved, this is probably one of the most important things, is we want to create a report, or we can get a quote right from here as well. So let's go ahead and create a report first. Now you can see what's on this report, and it is a PDF that we're going to create out of this report here in just a second. Notice it could have your logo at the top, as we talked about, who the planner was, the name of the project, and when it was created. So if I come down here, however, you can see it has a lot of information. Which cameras am I using in my project? You can see I got 3 of the PTZs, and I have 1 of the Ranger Series R1s, and 8 of those FH series ID cameras. You can come down here and look even further. It talks about all of the criteria, right, that these are meeting. It tells you the height, the rotation, the dead zone, right? Rotation, you do need to know which direction it's pointing, right? So that's always a good thing. And the GPS longitude and latitude information from all of the devices that you've entered in there. You can actually call your cameras whatever you want to call them right here to even make the report look a little bit better. And then you can see down at the bottom, we have generate PDF, as I promised. And this does take maybe a minute or so sometimes, but it should be done here shortly. And you can see once it is done, it makes you perform one final function, clicking there to create the PDF. And here you have it, right? Just as we talked about before, you have your visual depiction and you have all of the information that you might need down here. And they would include those camera names had you entered them. Fire this off to whoever you need and you are good to go. So let's go ahead and close that down now. So now that we're back to the dashboard right here, you can see the Mead video that was just created. I can actually get a quote right here. If I go ahead and click on this, you can see what it does. Gives you your information. Notice the no obligations, right? This is just for your benefit, and you wanted to see how much everything costs before you submit the RFP. More information you could add right here, then simply click on the Request a Quote button. Now, with that said, like I mentioned, use it once or twice, and it really, really is intuitive and easy. And if you have any questions at all, of course, you do have a contact support button, or you can reach out to me. I am Marty Major. My email address is marty.major@teledyneflir.com. Thanks.